what Parliament says they are considering passing a law to nip activities of LGBTQ in the bud. We'll speak to the man behind this proposal to Parliament. We'll also talk about the super clash coming up tomorrow, I believe Sunday. This is between the Kumasi Asante Kotoko and Accra Hearts of Oak. We'll be looking at matters concerning security, COVID-19 protocols, ticketing troubles, of course, the excitement around the game. Let's look at the guests for today. I have Dr. John Kuma. He's the Deputy Minister Designate for Finance. I think they've been approved, so Deputy Finance Minister. I also have Benjamin Antiedu, legal practitioner, researcher, and author. I have Dr. Stephen Kwabena Akins. I also have, so he's a professor at the Department of Government and International Affairs of the University of South Florida in USA. He'll be joining us via Zoom. Also, I have Daniel Amate Enim. He's an economist and a financial analyst. This is Inside Pages. I'm FRANCISCA KAKRA FORSON. This program is brought to you by Appointed Time Printing Limited. We're also streaming live on social media. It's Metro TV Ghana on Facebook, at Metro TV GH on Twitter, and also on Instagram. You can send WhatsApp messages to the number that will be displaying on your screen. Please do not call, just send the messages. And use the hashtag Inside Pages. We'll be right back after this break.
Inside Pages is brought to you by Appointed Time Printing Limited.
Did you know that cloth handkerchief gets dirty and wet after wiping your sweat or blowing your nose with it? Keeping a dirty handkerchief in your pocket or bag is very unhygienic. Reusing it increases your chances of getting sick from germs. That is why I always use floral disposable handkerchiefs. Floral disposable handkerchiefs is disposable, thus making it a more hygienic option. It's thick and very absorbent. With 10 tissues in a pack, floral disposable handkerchief is better than a cloth handkerchief.
Mommy, my floral disposable handkerchief.
Look out for Flora toilet roll, Flora multi-purpose paper towels, Flora table napkins, and Flora box tissues in a shop near you. For bill purchases, call Delta Paper Mail on 0243 033 033.
In Ghana and in Africa, there is only one place to look to get that luxurious designer decor for your offices and homes. Visit Jamila Home. We give you the climax of luxury wherever you find yourself. Presidential and executive office furniture, living room sets, dining set, stunning mirrors, adorable wallpapers, lovely king and queen size beds, valuable antiques and antique goods, beautiful chandeliers and more. Into the bargain, we provide caring customer service, prompt delivery service, skilled and artistic full house design and decor services, and free decor ideas for your space. Our products and service is unparalleled, boasting of top-tier clients all over the globe. Jamila Home, home of first-class quality furniture, beautiful chandeliers, and antiques.
Welcome back. So what I gave you was the first part of the program, the conversation about Ghana's judgment debt situation, listing the guests to you. For the second part, talking about Parliament's consideration of a bill or law to sort of nip activities of LGBTQ in the bud, we will be joined by Emmanuel Abankwa Kesi. He's a political analyst and he's the man behind this. He made this proposal to Parliament and they responded. We'll also speak to Frank Doyi. He's a growth and mobilization manager of Amnesty International, and Amnesty deals with matters of human rights. Mr. Moore is a member of the LGBT plus Ghana community. He's a communications director and he will also be joining us. You would notice that on the flyer we had to hide his identity to protect him. Our third topic, of course, excitement, is about the super clash coming up between Asante Kotoko and Accra Hearts of Oak. We'll be joined by Neil Armstrong Mortagbe. He's the head of commercial services for Ignite Media Group. Of course, he's also very experienced in the football sector, among others. We'll be having that conversation, and hopefully we'll probably be joined by Phil or Phil or Mike of our sports team, if possible, if we get them. But that's the program lineup. Right now, let's get the latest news updates from the Metro News.
The Bolga East MP, Dr. Dominic Ayine, in a panel discussion, questioned the independence of the judiciary in their arbitration of the 2020 election petition. According to the letter from the Judicial Secretary to the Disciplinary Committee's chairperson of the General Legal Council, the statement made by Dr. Ayine calls for disciplinary action from the Council. But addressing the matter at a press briefing, the opposition National Democratic Congress described the Chief Justice's decision to drag the Bolgatanga East MP before the Disciplinary Committee of the General Legal Council (GLC) as an attempt to cowardice lawyers affiliated to the NDC.
The latest persecution of Dr. Ayine is part of a grand agenda by the current Chief Justice to intimidate, cower, and muzzle all dissenting voices, particularly those in the NDC, who dare to speak against some of the strange decisions that characterize the 2020 presidential election petition. As you may be aware, only a few months ago, some lawyers with NDC leanings, specifically lawyer Abraham Amaliba and lawyer David Annan, were hauled to this same disciplinary committee of the General Legal Council by the same Chief Justice in similar fashion.
The General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress, Johnson Asiedu Nketia, also said the Chief Justice's petition forms part of a grand scheme to silence opposing view and suppress free speech guaranteed by the 1992 Constitution.
We wish to reiterate the fact that the invitation of Dr. Ayine to appear before the General Legal Council is yet another attempt by the Chief Justice to intimidate and suppress views that are at variance with his own views. Even if the Chief Justice disagrees with Dr. Ayene's views or deems same as erroneous, the statement made were decorous expressions of opinion about a judgment delivered by the Supreme Court of Ghana and do not warrant professional discipline. Our progressive march as a constitutional democracy will suffer a grave setback if the disciplinary committee of the General Legal Council were to proceed to hold an inquiry into the matter of Dr. Ayene's statements.
He demanded that the Chief Justice withdraws his petition against the former member of Mahama's legal team in the 2020 election petition.
Our constitution and laws protect the integrity and independence of the judiciary and not the sensibilities of judges. Judicial vanity is a threat to justice and must not be countenanced in any democracy. We therefore join all well-meaning Ghanaians to demand that the Chief Justice withdraws his petition against Dr. Ayine forthwith. We further serve notice that as a political party, we are keenly following events and shall resist any judicial tyranny with all our might.
The NDC says they would continue to defend the cause of freedom and right in the country.
Ignite Media is the mother company for Metropolitan Television, also known as Metro TV, Original TV, and Original FM. Newly appointed managing director of the media conglomerate, Kayode Akintemi, has paid a courtesy call on the Minister for Information, Kojo Opon-Nkrumah, to discuss how best Ghana can be projected on the international front. He also expressed the interest in collaborating with the Ministry for Information and other ministries to push developmental journalism agenda, which the Ignite Media Group will drive in Ghana and Africa.
We have to tell government what we feel the people are saying, and when government does something right, we cannot ignore it. It has to be our job and our duty to say government has done well here, so that there is an appreciation of the effort of government and there is an appreciation of the achievement of government, so that everything is not focused on the opposition's perspective of nothing is ever good, because the media is not part of the opposition. The media has got to be a party that is objective, not subjective, that is able to look at it from a higher moral ground and be able to appreciate what is done. So that's what we're looking to do, and that's why we feel very strongly that it's important that now that I am here, that I spend a little bit of time with you to let you know that we are partners in progress. We're here to help you push your agenda, help the Ministry of Information, help the government of Nana Akufo-Addo to push the agenda, and where there are lapses to help identify it, not with a view to castigate or push it down, but to let it be clear that these things have to be addressed, and when they are, for us to say, well done.
Information Minister Kojo Oppong-Nkrumah in his response stated his readiness to collaborate with Ignite Media.
What is our responsibility? Do we want to instill fear or despair within the society? Or do we want to be the ones that are always sowing a seed of hope and possibility and encouragement to the society? I watch and listen to shows which start with the message of motivation, and then the rest of the show is all about just sowing despair. But I think that in the conversation of responsibility, you can also look at what is your role, what is your responsibility in helping to build up our children, in helping to build up young people, in helping to build up the society. How do we contribute to the building of the society? So welcome once again. I can only wish you all the best. Our doors are open. We have a number of things that we do to tell the government story and to take feedback. And we'll be more than excited to collaborate with you to tell the story, and also through your channels to get feedback from the people of Ghana so that we can loop that back into the work that we do. I can only wish you well.
This forms part of Ignite Media's move to position Metro TV as a 24-hour news channel across Africa, Original TV as the go-to local channel, and Original FM as the #1 local radio station in Ghana.
Residents within areas like Kaneshi and Bubiashi say they have not had water flowing through their taps for about a week now.
We are facing water situation. To be precise, and shortage of water. So we are pleading on the government's behalf so that it should help us to get the water. And from the distance that we get the water, it becomes difficult for us to get the water.
Kaja manke 3 days in 4 days. Wananu no kafe no kroko. Nye bibi bionanu. Nimka juan halepo. Mini mami wo yo 1 pin wa. 1 pin anu kwale mwewe 1 pin wa. E wa wo. Pipe agbele awo light won agbe. 1 pin agbe kane agba wa anga pipe. Wananu wo bi ame ba tem ba veta me ba ju ame.
They called on duty bearers to intervene and remedy the situation to enable domestic and commercial activities to run without fail.
Me hairdresser. Bare 4 days ni yenyensuo. Yenyensuo ye bechia ko far away ansa na yenyensuo. Enti extra ban. And our first cramp on answer pipe number 2 no. Omo bon kaye se bia to pipe na ja obese na yatimi prepare na bia se ebubi bia si ho a na ebubi asi but say antisa
pa because yeniama yesi eni yedwane a yebenua ena nso nso na ewo ase eye bula nso eye salt udi siniama ubre pa ena anti kokko ho nso okwa line uba ko school oko di line musa obedru school na ye bono.
The 1-year-old boy killed by the flood waters was traveling home with a mother on a tricycle, popularly known as Pragya, when it got stuck in flood waters at Sawaba in Kumasi. In an attempt to continue the journey on foot, the child was swept away by the floods. Several attempts by residents to retrieve the child was unsuccessful. The lifeless body of the toddler was retrieved at 11:30 a.m. this morning. The mother of the child, Faidos Abdullahi, explained how the incident occurred. The residents blamed the incident on a dilapidated bridge in the community. According to them, several appeals for the reconstruction of the partially collapsed bridge has fallen on deaf ears. The assembly member of the Denyanse Sawaba electoral area, Samuel Kolebil, together with the municipal's NADMO coordinator, Samuel Jima, say the bridge has become a death trap and appealing to authorities to, as a matter of urgency, intercede and reconstruct the bridge to avert future incidents.
And to send the team who bought I say, Bibia, a treaty or high who bought and soon I am passing and soon after Akrano.
Some residents also spoke to Metro News on the challenges they face whenever it rains in their community. Wednesday's downpour exposed the usual problems of poor drainage and encroachment on waterways in most parts of the Ashanti region. The first-class residence areas in the Kumasi metropolis, like Paraku Estate, Atasamanso, Pechi, Patase, and Hojo, among others, were not left out of the destruction caused by the flood waters. The former mayor of Kumasi and the Ashanti regional minister, Dr. Samuel Sapon, whose fence wall collapsed due to the flood waters at Paraku Estate, expressed concerns about lawlessness in the city and the lack of political will to enforce laws by the authorities.
It's very, very appalling. There is total lawlessness because we have the metropolitan assemblies, the district assemblies. They have to make sure that nobody takes the law into his hands.
An Accra High Court ruled that the Attorney General Godfrey Damin could represent the police in the case involving them and the Fix the Country campaigners. The court held that the Attorney General is responsible for all civil suits against the Republic and hence can represent the police service. While the court was hearing the legal argument of the Attorney General, Godfrey Damin, and lawyers for the Fix the Country campaigners, some of the campaigners had pitched camp in front of the law court complex, holding placards demanding that the country is fixed. In respect to a demonstration that they had wanted to hold somewhere on 9th May, the police got an ex parte motion that was on the 6th of May, barring them from embarking on the demonstration. The Fix the Country demonstrators also proceeded to the Supreme Court to say that the ex parte injunction that was sought from the Accra High Court by the Ghana Police Service was unlawful. You recall that the Supreme Court quashed that injunction. As I speak to you now, lawyers for the Fix the Country demonstrators are currently on their feet arguing why the court should give them the green light to demonstrate. Some of your members are inside. Why are you guys outside holding flags and plaques?
The way things are going, we can see that our leaders are not ready to give us that freedom to exercise our rights as citizens when something is going wrong. So as they are in the courtroom, we are also outside, letting the public know that we are serious and we mean what we want to do.
I think that we, the youth, presented a very great opportunity to the leaders, the so-called leaders. For me, I don't call them leaders. I call them agents. They are agents of the colonizers. They are agents of our oppressors. They are only representing the interests of the oppressors, not the interests of the people.
What are you guys going to do just in case if the judge comes out to say that she is upholding the order, the injunction that was sought by the Ghana Police Service to bar you from embarking on the project? What are you going to do?
You see, when it is coming, it is still coming. It is still coming. Wait, and when it comes, you will know what is going to happen next.
Besides, there was still this law that no one should organize gatherings during the Corona era. But then the president and the vice president went ahead to organize the funeral, and they attended. So if the judge also tells us not to do this, you also go ahead and do just like the president did.
In court, the Attorney General Godfrey Dame argued that the Fix the Country protest cannot come off due to the time we find ourselves in. Lawyers of the Fix the Country campaigners were opposed to Godfrey Dame's view and had disposed a 49-page affidavit in opposition. Efia Odo and 14 others who were protesting outside the High Court complex were arrested by the Accra Regional Police Command. The court, presided over by Her Lordship Robi Ayite, dismissed the application seeking to bar the Fix the Country protesters from embarking on the demonstration, saying it was moot.
But now we are more concentrated on what has happened, the arrest. So we are pursuing that. After that, we can respond to whatsoever thing the ruling is. Our legal team will respond to that later. But for now, we are concentrated on the arrest of the 15 conveners. But we are assuring Ghanaians that we are safe because we live in a democratic nation.
She added that if the protesters want to embark on their said demonstration, they would have to follow lay-down procedure by writing to the police to notify them of the date on which they want to embark on the demonstration. Reporting from Metro News, I am Henry Kwesi Bedo, Accra High Court Complex.
Welcome back. Before we take a Ghana moment, what I want us to do is to say a big thank you to all those who were here last Saturday to donate blood. Last Saturday, we held the Ignite Media blood donation here at the premises of Metro TV, at the frontage of Metro TV, and we had lots of you coming in. We had I can't remember, but the Jama squad was in studio to give you some great music, and you saw me dancing. But we are grateful to all our partners and all patrons who came through. I remember Farmanova and Blue Skies were major sponsors for the event, and we're grateful to you. We hope to continue partnering with you in subsequent such exercises. I just want you to have a feel of what happened. So I'm just going to show on your screen some shots of the blood donation exercise briefly, and then we'll come back to the studio.
I'm doing the registration. Once you come, we take your details, your name, phone, asking your name and some few questions. Once you are done, you move to the next stage. That's where you go through the screening. And once you get through the screening, that's where they check your BP level and everything. And once you are through with it, you go ahead and then donate. Yeah, so even though you can register all right, but then there's a stage where you get to and then you'll be deferred. If I say deferral, probably your pressure might be high and so on, so you might be disqualified, but we call it deferral. So with that, you wouldn't allow you to go for the donation. Yeah, so right after that registration, you move to the screening. The screening, when you are qualified, you go for them to take your blood, the donation. Yes, please.
Okay, so thank you very much for speaking with us. So we are going to talk to a gentleman who is in charge of some items here, and then we'll find out. You can see from here we have I don't know if this is some kind of medicine. It's an ointment. Okay, so I don't know why it is here. And this is a blood tonic. I should guess. Yes, it's a blood tonic. So once you go through the process and...
So that's what happened here last Saturday, the Ignite Media blood donation exercise. Remember, Ignite Media is Metro TV, Original TV, and Original FM. A big thank you to Blue Skies, natural fruit juice manufacturers, also Pharmanova, pharmaceutical company, and another big sponsor that doesn't want to be mentioned, but we're grateful for the partnership for the exercise. Right now, I want to bring you Ghana Moment, and for today on Ghana Moment, President Akufo-Addo is urging a collective resolve to support Africa's economic recovery post-COVID-19. Watch this.
I hope to see additional collaborations, partnerships, and the continued allocation of substantial resources towards initiatives that accelerate our chances of building back boldly, better, and greener. I ask that we remain focused on promoting inclusive growth, especially in digitalization, health, agriculture, industrial processing, and eliminating gender disparities. Today's annual meetings have an appropriate focus, building resilient economies in post-COVID-19 Africa, which is an unavoidable imperative if our continent is to recover from the effects of the pandemic. In an unprecedented global event of this magnitude, we must engineer a response that will help accelerate our structural transformation. Our will in seeing it through must be total. We need to reawaken bonds of solidarity between the Bank Group, African Union organs and institutions, and regional economic communities, and demonstrate a united commitment towards rebuilding our communities.
Welcome back. So we'll start our first conversation on Ghana's judgment debt situation. I want my producer to check if we have our interview with the Attorney General, Godfred Dame. I want that to be the premise of the conversation. But while we are checking, I want to introduce my first guest. Benjamin Antiedu is a legal practitioner, legal researcher, and author. Good morning to you and welcome. You look bright. How's your week been? Can you kindly turn on your microphone? Great. So how's the week been for you?
It's been good. The normal struggles of life, work and other engagements, but the Lord has been good.
Okay. Well, it's good to see you as always, and thank you for coming and welcome. I don't know if we have the interview of Godfred Dame yet. I was really hoping that we would start off with that interview. Well, I'd like to first of all... Okay, so if it's ready, let's have it.
Madam Greco-Fidem recommended termination of the agreement in 2018 on account of the PPA committee report. So her decision was informed purely by the PPA review report and also an examination of other circumstances surrounding the agreement, i.e. failure to attain conditions precedent and what have you. And unfortunately, that determination was adjudged to be wrong by the Permanent Court of Arbitration, which we were subjected to. In any case, the fundamental point is that the termination was necessary. Secondly, relatively, the state was saved more losses. If you're a public officer, you're acting in accordance with the tenets of reasonableness, diligence, and sound policy. You ought not to take any decision which will expose the state unnecessarily to financial loss. That is why there's a provision in the Criminal Offences Act for causing financial. It said willfully causing financial loss. And willfully causing financial loss is occasioned where a person takes a decision either recklessly, negligently, or deliberately with the intention that the state will ultimately lose. So the question must be asked as to why a public officer vested with discretion and vested with the nation's resources, will enter into multiple PPA agreements which would occasion excess supply. Supply when the state was not in need of the power, and also at cost that was adjudged by the PPA committee to be excessive. Inquiry into these matters to ascertain whether the acts of the public officers were deliberate, reckless, or just negligent. And if that is the case, then of course the penal implications will follow. The CID deals with criminal proceedings.
Okay.
It's just an investigation which will form the basis for possible charges against public officers culpable in the whole transaction. So the position must be expressed that clearly this administration and myself in particular, I'm against judgment debt, and that I will pursue any public officer. It's just on account of the same principle that I'm referring the conduct of the public officers in question to the CID. I think that whenever any public officer, by his actions, occasion.
So also we'll try and connect with John Kuma. He's the Deputy Minister for Finance via Zoom. But we'll kickstart with, let me just put it in a bit of context. So this is a judgment debt, a $170 million judgment debt against the state that is coming out from an arbitration process that was started by the GPGC because they had a power purchase agreement with the government, the NDC government, which the Attorney General points to, and the contract was terminated, and they sought this 170 million. The government appealed, and the government has been criticized that their appeal of the award that was given GPGC was not timely or came in late, and then that's how come not much was able to be done. I'll come to you, Benjamin. Let's talk about the contract, because we've heard the NDC blame the current government. We've also heard the current government say that what the starting point is that there were too many PPAs. Committees had perused them and recommended that they be terminated. And somebody will wonder, so if such recommendations are coming through, did they take cognizance of the the costs implications for termination and all that? From where you sit as a lawyer, looking at this contract and the fact that some people, I know, for instance, Professor H. Kwesi Prempeh has talked about how we're gradually gaining a reputation for judgment debts. How do you consume all of this?
Yes, from the legal standpoint, and then the process that is laid out in the Constitution, yes, before government enters into a contract with an external company or entity, it has to be approved or ratified by Parliament under Article 181(5) of the Constitution. So that was fulfilled, and you have an effective contract in place. Yes, there might have been some multiplicity of the PPAs, the power purchase agreements. And then the decision that went through, I'm not in a position to judge whether it was good or not. But I want to understand whether the normal process for termination of contracts were followed, i.e. where you have two parties to the contract. So if you want to terminate, you want to engage fully and exhaust every opportunity to reach a consensual termination. Because that is where you are able to bargain and make sense and agree on a mutually acceptable outcome. So where you have the other party being resistant, but of course you have a company that has a valid contract with the state with so much grounding, will not give in so easily. So you don't terminate too quickly, because anytime Ghana enters into an agreement with an external body, you elevate this contract not as an ordinary contract, but a contract with international law effect, to the extent that you cannot, even when it's challenged at the international level, be it, ICED, International Convention for Settlement of investment agreements and all that, they apply international law to the extent that even your constitution will not matter at that level. So when we have a full realization of these potential legal challenges, the only way out was for us to have a full discussion to terminate, because the law is clear that the way you entered into the contract, that's the same way that you terminate or you sever the relationship. So I want to particularly know the full extent of the engagement that took place before the termination between Ghana and the company.
Is it not too late at this point?
No, now that there have been so many indications for, or the hint for a review of the process that led to this point, I think going into the future, you want to understand these things so that we can be guided properly.
Okay, I have economist and financial analyst Daniel Amate Enim on the line. Good morning to you and thanks for joining us. This judgment debt matter, the government has had to defend it, and they talk about how much work they've done. Critics say that they could have done better in terms of appealing the award that was granted. And critics also say that we've just gone for 170 million euros from the Africa Development Bank, and here we're going to pay a $170 million judgment debt. Does it appear to you that this, for want of a better expression, there's too much going on, that's, it's upside, things appear upside down?
Thank you very much. And sorry for my inability to be in studio. My system has been a little bit down. Thank you very much. If you recall, the last time I was on your platform with respect to the Feast the Country saga, I indicated that as much as we should be looking at beefing government revenue, it's equally important that we look at expenditure management. And then I recall saying that there's a need for us to put in a mechanism to ensure that we do not create unnecessary expenditure. We do not create expenditure that will ensure that the small revenue that comes into government coffers is driven away. And the judgment debt is one of the major phenomena that ought to be looked at. Now, it is quite clear, if you look at the history of judgment debt in this country, it is quite clear that our public administration mechanisms has not been effective in terms of the kind of decisions that are taken by personnel appointed by the state. To me, with respect to this particular judgment debt, I'm of the view that the state has the responsibility to ensure that even if a previous government has made an error or committed an error which could cause the nation, the subsequent government ought to take that responsibility by ensuring that we minimize that particular cost to the barest minimum. And so, to me, I'm of the view that as much as, for what I've read, that the signing of the contract necessitated this particular incident, I was of the view, respectfully, that steps should have been taken to minimize the kind of judgment debt that we're experiencing now. So it is the state that is looking for money to be able to roll out so many developmental projects. Our debt stock is increasing, which is a headache for the finance minister. Debt sustainability is now an issue. We've been cautioned by the World Bank and an IMF, and here we are going to pay $170 million free money. So it doesn't add up. So to me, when we talk about the sound management of an economy, it is not just about going around looking for money. It's not just about inflows into that economy. What is also critical is that you must manage your expenditure aspect of the budget, and one of such is by ensuring that you do not incur unnecessary debts. So to me, it is a clear demonstration of inefficiency in public administration management. And that's the reason which there's the need for all of us to redefine, to re-look at our public management mechanism by ensuring that people that are appointed to manage the affairs of this nation should understand right from the signing of a contract, management of the contract, termination of the contract, and thereafter ought to ensure that whatever steps that is taken, it is for the benefit of the nation. It will ensure that the country or the state does not lose money. If we can think in that particular dimension or on that line, I'm of the view that issues of judgment debt and issues of malfeasance, issues of waste of resources will be out of the equation, because we need money to be able to develop this country. If you recall, the president has stated Ghana Beyond Aid. Ghana Beyond Aid simply means that we don't want to rely on aid to facilitate our development. So there's the need for us to ensure that whatever resources that comes into the coffers is managed in a manner that will be able to attend to most of the basic things. You know, we run free SHS. If you look at the report that is coming, the government need more money to be able to consolidate that particular policy in terms of providing infrastructure, in fact of the releasing feeding money for feeding on time and provision of textbooks. If you recall, with what I know, with a new curriculum, government is just to provide textbooks. So government needs money to be able to facilitate the program that she has on board. So
you give a good history of judgment debts, and you paint a good picture, clear picture of the economy, making a fundamental point that now is not the time for us to be losing money, and so there should be some, judicious management of expenditure for the country. I want you to hold on a bit. Let me bring in. I want us to digest properly this matter of judgment debt, and thankfully we have a lawyer in the studio to help us with that. Benjamin, explain to us, okay, when somebody turns on their TV and they hear a story, the Attorney General talking about a judgment debt against Ghana, $170 million going down the drains. Explain to us what that means, this judgment debt. What does it mean?
Generally, a judgment debt is money, usually, that a party has to pay to the other, okay, arising out of a court or a litigation. So you go to court, you have two parties. So in this case, you have the government of Ghana and then the power producer here. And then the matter has been determined, and then the forum is telling you to pay this amount to the other party. So Ghana government has been asked or ordered by court to pay this. So in fact, this is a compulsory payment which will run even at the peril of interest. That if you fail to even pay within some specified period, interest will be compounding. Sorry. So you have to pay by all means. Okay, so this is money that will have to move from government of Ghana coffers and go. If you delay, we pay even more.
And help us understand how how a judgment debt will arise. Will it be from a certain omission of a certain act by the state or the representatives of the state?
Yes, before a judgment debt arises means that you are at fault. Okay, you are at fault. You had an effective contract in place. And
which in this case would be GP, GC, and the government of Ghana. Yeah. And then it appears the government is the one at fault for terminating.
Of course. If you are not at fault, you will not be asked to pay. And obviously, this was expectant. Maybe it's the quantum of the judgment that has become an issue. Because once you have a contract in place, a contract that has been ratified by Parliament, so constitutionally that was an effective contract. You remember the cases of Isophoton and others which did not pass the parliamentary ratification test, and so they were faulted. But even that, when it was some of them were elevated to the international level, we found some difficulty, because I said you cannot even use your internal or your constitution will not even prevail when we left the matter at the international plane. Okay, so here, government terminating the contract should have expected that some judgment debt was going to be paid. Okay, and sometimes we even put what we call liquidated damages even in the contract, but I don't expect that this case that's what happened. But beyond that, the court will look at the entire circumstances and then award, because here you want to put yourself in the shoes of the company and say that if the contract was fully performed, what would have been the gains to the company? Okay, so if you have terminated it at a point, we cannot say we're giving the entirety of the profits or whatever margin that should have accrued, but definitely something significant that will remedy and put the, party not in default in a better position. So definitely we erred. Okay, we erred in terminating, we erred in not reaching you know, a mutually acceptable figure.
So the question is, what went wrong then? Is it that the state couldn't put up a defense, couldn't, you know, appeal the award given on time?
Okay, so if you want to share, we want to know the specific forum that dealt with the matter.
Okay.
Because if it's some of these international bodies or arbitration or whatever, then the award will be final. Okay, so those ones are not even appealable. Okay, unlike normal court, you know, litigation that has a procedure. But the point is that you see now an attempt is being made to go look at what even prompted the termination. Okay. But I think our immediate interest will be to understand fully what was the circumstances of the termination before we even go back to look at what happened.
Let me bring in Mr. Amate Enim and talk about the reputational implication for this. What's your view on that? Some people believe that this is damaging to Ghana's reputation. Once again, another judgment debt. What's your take on this?
Yeah, thank you very much. You know, that is quite true because we were highly noted within the sub-region as a country with a high human capital potentials in terms of expertise. So having all this expertise and recording judgment debts, then there should be something fundamentally wrong with our system. Either with the caliber of people we appointed to public service or the kind of people that we training and the kind of skills we giving them recently. Because as I know, with the small experiences that I had with other countries within the sub-region, you visit a country and the very moment you mention you are from Ghana, there's a certain level of respect that is accorded to you. And so to me, yes, if care is not taken, that may affect our reputation within the sub-region and even globally. So there's an immediate need for us to be able to realign our public administration mechanisms by ensuring that we do not incur some of these unnecessary judgment debts. So with respect to credibility, with respect to reputation, it is to affect us because this is a country that is fishing out for money all over. And one would have expected that once you receive this money, it should be channeled into sectors of the economy that will really bring about the ripple effect, that will help you reduce unemployment, that will help you minimize poverty. So once you go out fishing for resources and at the same time you dash out money in the form of judgment debt, you will not be considered as a serious nation, and that may have a serious implication in terms of the overall management of the economy. People will not take you as a serious nation, and that may be very bizarre going forward for the economy.
Gentlemen, I'll take you back to 2012, I believe, where this was when the sole commissioner was, or the sole commissioner's office was set up, Justice Apau. He was to look into all of this because we had this concern about, what do you call it, judgment debts. There were suspicions of collusion here and there. This was on the back of the Woyome, I guess, and then I suffered on all those ones. And here we are having this conversation again. What did we do with Justice Apau's commission of inquiry and his recommendations? It appears we're back at square one.
Well, I have not heard anything about attempts to implement or not to implement them. So maybe that one, the Attorney General may be able to speak to that. But it's obvious that even if some measures have been taken, we have not gone too far because this matter, to me, should have been handled very much well, especially with the engagement that took place before the termination. You know, but we should also, there's some development that we should put our mind to and see how we can deal with it. Normally, when you have a government change, then the new government will be suspicious of the other. The little that I could glean from the interview I had with the Attorney General was that, we had superfluous number of power purchase agreements. So as soon as you think that way, then it's like every small thing you see wrong with one of them, then you want to sacrifice. Okay, but we know we have been exporting some. So it would have been again to have more of them. We've had instances of power shortages even in our current circumstances. And so having more wouldn't have. If it's about our capacity to fuel and to generate the power, we could sell. We could sell and make money. But until we get some paperwork on this, and this is a good time to ask about what happened to the recommendations made by Justice Apau.
And we're hoping to get the Deputy Finance Minister, John Kuma, to speak to on this. However, we had agreed to have him on the show, but he's unable to pick our calls. We don't know why, but I'm sure as and when we reach him, we'll have that conversation with him. I want us to, something I don't want us to do, but it's obviously happening, is what appears to be the politicization. So this is where the blame game comes in. You hear the current government, so the Attorney General's office would say that too many PPAs, there were issues with the contracts, too much excess power, etc. We've heard the NDC side. I think it's John Jinapa also blamed the current government. The Attorney General's office has come under criticism for not defending the case properly and appealing the award properly. Are all of these relevant? Are they necessary? Because we're looking at the money that we are going to lose. Should it matter the finger pointing that is going on?
Thank you. This is a very serious question you've asked. You see, that we should know what we want as a country. The political game can continue, but people like you and me who will bear the brunt of it, we should be more interested in the facts. So that, because we cannot stop the political game going on. But here, we have a judgment debt, so we want to understand what fully happened under your control. That's what you answer to first. Then when we have settled that aspect, then we want to move on to look at our back. What even prompted this whole termination? And so now the first question to ask was whether or not there was good ground for termination. And of course, that points to the fact that there wasn't. If there was a good ground, we wouldn't have been hung up with this judgment debt in the first place. So we want to inquire into the first thing, what went wrong. Is it about that we had a good ground to terminate, but we're not able, or we didn't give attention to the process that led to this?
Moving forward, and I'll come back to quickly, Benjamin. Let me ask you this before I go back to Mr. Amate. Moving forward, because GOG contracts will have to be approved by Parliament, what should Parliament be doing about these things, about these matters of judgment debt? In the past, we've heard about even possible collusions. That's not an unreasonable conclusion to draw out of some of them. But I recall the Attorney General said that, well, they've been able to save some monies, but there are also some monies that they couldn't save through these judgment debts. What should we be expecting from Parliament?
Parliament is the oversight body, and the Constitution clearly gives that power, and for good reason. That, when there's a sieving mechanism, you have other parties coming into the fray, they are supposed to check up. Okay, so as far as Parliament is concerned, this agreement, there was no problem. Okay. There was no problem. If you say that, well, maybe the prices that were agreed to were astronomical, more than the ordinary and all that, or maybe there was some, legal issues, that's when you want to blame Parliament. But when it is concluded, some suggestion has been made that even when the minister wanted to terminate, that termination option should have been approved by Parliament. The law is not clear on that. The law deals with the Constitution and Article 181, Clause 5. It's clear that it's the ratification with, of a contract between Ghana and a foreign entity that has to be ratified. But as for the termination, but the point is that it must be implied in that express authority that if I have the power to approve and then you are changing your mind, then I have the right to endorse too. Okay, but that is another angle that is coming. So Parliament did its work.
Very significant.
Yes, so that is another legal dimension that I may be interested in, that why didn't it come to Parliament? You know what, even at the time, 1815 was not fully enforced or applied. Then the question was that if I'm the minister and I want to fortify myself, then whatever decision I take, I want it to subject it to Parliament so that I will not be totally, blamed for whatever outcome. So it is in the interest of the minister, it's in the interest of government that when Parliament is not likely, we don't have one party or one-sided Parliament. So definitely, if there's something wrong, it may come out during the parliamentary process.
Okay.
So it should be something that we should readily subject ourselves to so that some of these things will not happen.
Okay, and indeed, Benjamin, earlier you talked about looking into the contract proper to understand the termination. Well, civil society, ASEPA, is calling for a public inquiry into the GOG contract with GPGC, particularly the termination. Let's take this clip from them.
It's a cocktail of negligence, lack of respect for contractual obligations, and an attorney general who slept on the job that has resulted in this country now going to pay a whopping $170 million for absolutely no work done to GPGC. Now, the attorney general is going around making a number of claims which we believe are quite unfounded. And I think that it is on this basis that we are calling for a public inquiry into this judgment debt saga so that we can get to the bottom of the matter. Because the public must be made aware of how many emergency power purchase agreement was entered into by the government, by the previous government. How many of these power purchase agreements has been terminated by the current government between 2017 till date? We must know, because we are aware that there are a number of power purchase agreements signed. How many of them have been terminated? Now, on what was the basis for the termination? Because all we know about is this GPGC one, which has currently been terminated, that has resulted in a judgment debt. But if you look at all the power purchase agreement that was signed by the previous administration, this GPGC contract was the most generous of all the transactions, especially where most of the agreements, like Ameri, required the government to provide an LC, which is a letter of credit, as a form of guarantee for the transaction. This particular agreement did not require any form of LC.
So that's Mensa Thompson. He's with the Alliance for Social Equity and Public Accountability group called ASEPA, speaking there. I'll go to Mr. Enim. Mr. Enim, I'm looking at a message on my phone, and somebody is trying to ask why taxpayers should not be outraged about this $170 million judgment debt. You're the economist. People are now thinking about how it trickles down to their pockets. Should we be outraged?
Certainly so. They have a genuine concern as a citizen. Why you paying tax? It is expected that tax revenue will be used in a manner that will ensure that you benefit from it. That is provision of good roads, provision of potable drinking water and education. So if a chunk of that money is being dashed out in the form of a judgment debt, as a citizen, you have the responsibility to ask relevant questions. You have the responsibility to demand accountability from managers of the economy, why they should relax on their duties and responsibility by ensuring that the public purse is protected. The failure to do so, I think the citizens have every right, every legitimate right to ask relevant questions, to demand answers from the managers of the economy. Because if you look at the way we'll be managing the economy, I think the council in the studio hit the nail right on the head by saying that there is this political philosophy, and that kind of political philosophy shouldn't be used as a basis in managing the resources of this country. I think the politics is there, we understand it's global, but we should understand that governance is continuity. And anything that is done before another government takes over, it is the responsibility of the new government to ensure that you manage that particular contract in a manner that at the end of the day, it will not cost the government so much. So we need to understand that there's a difference between an economic philosophy and a political philosophy. What I've seen is that we allow the political philosophies to dictate to the economic philosophy of this country, and that is not helping so well. Let me give you an empirical example, which is on the ground now. The issue of affordable housing. Recall when President Kufuor started that thing, another government came, it was abandoned. Another government also came, started something. As we speak now, there's an affordable housing going to from Tema to Adan Road, Saglem in Chopoli, to be specific. When the new government took over, they stated that there are issues with the contract or whatever. That project is there lying down, and we are playing politics with it, forgetting that it was the citizens' money that was used to put up that kind of project. So what I'm trying to drive at is that the management of an economy, we should be looking at economic principles and theories that are necessary to create opportunity for the citizens, and that the politics, we should know how to play the politics. But if we allow the political ideologies, our political philosophies to dictate the management of the economy, then these are some of the things that will happen. And at the end of the day, unemployment will increase, poverty levels will increase, the citizens will not have a very good standard of living, and that may be very fatal. So there's the need for all of us to start demanding accountability. In fact, the last time I was on your platform, I indicated that Feed the Country call is a very good call. But looking at the COVID, I will crave the indulgence of the organizers of the Feed the Country to kind of way of, try and take it slowly. But looking at how things are going, I have to change my perception. I'm of the view that all of us collectively must begin to demand accountability from our leaders.
Very well, very well. That's a good point, that we must all demand accountability from our leaders, and hopefully our leaders will also listen and not perceive that negatively. But something you touched on that I found interesting, the fact that, or the attempt to sort of merge or have a balance between the political philosophy and the economic philosophy of governments. I recall reading a book by Ghana's first president, Kwame Nkrumah, making the point that the political will always be stronger and have its way as against the economic philosophy in there. Do you ever think that that day will come? Because at the end of the day, they are still running government is also about politics. It's a very essential aspect of it that can, with one mistake, your government could be out of power, and sometimes you would have to overlook economic concerns and put the politics ahead. So how feasible is it then to have this balance?
Yeah, I appreciate that. I understand that. Looking at the political economy we're running now, a multi-party democracy, where having political power is very key and critical. But then again, what is the overall objective of having a political power? Is to ensure that you develop the economy. And in doing so, in taking political decisions, you must equally look at the economic implication, and that's the point I was making. In fact, when Kwame Nkrumah made that statement, what it was all right to say is that, look, if the political philosophy is that let's radically develop the economy, we must take that decision, regardless of the effect that may come. But in doing so, we must equally look at economic policies that will support that. Let me give you one practical example, even what His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo did. Now, the issue of free SHS was more of a political decision. Okay, because at the time we wanted to take in almost every economists were of the view that, the resources to manage it. So it was a political economy. But then again, if you take such a political economy which has a propensity of improving the living standard of the people, immediately the economic policy philosophy now comes in. And what is that? How do I look out marshal resources to ensure that I consolidate that particular political decision taking? And in doing so, you must ensure that you manage your resources and avoid.
Oh dear, I think we've just lost that Zoom connection. Apologies for that. We'll try and get him back on when we're able to do so. But that's Daniel Amate trying to make I think he was using the free SHS as a case study to make the point of a possible balance between political and economic philosophies of governments. I'm told that the Deputy Finance Minister, John Kuma, called us back, and so my producers are engaging him, and we'll try and get him back for some answers. Okay, great. So I'm told that we have him on the phone. Good morning to you, Minister. Thank you so much for joining us. Hope your Saturday is going well.
Good morning. Well, yes, I'm already in my constituency, so
great.
I'm sorry I couldn't join you in the studio.
That's fine, but we appreciate
to everybody in the studio.
Very well. We also appreciate that even though you couldn't join us in the studio, you've made the effort for us to reach you via phone. And we know that your constituencies are important to you, so we won't take much of your time. What we want to do really is for you to give us some education to help us understand this contract, the GPGC contract with the government of Ghana that has resulted in a 170 million judgment debt against the state. First point of call, let us understand the contract terms. What was being sought, and also we'll bring in the bit about the termination. What happened for the termination to occur?
Well, I think the best person who should maybe speak to this should be the Attorney General. And since this matter came up, I think he has done well.
Yes.
He's been on various media platforms to explain the genesis of this GNPC, is it GCPN or GNPC?
GPGC.
GPGC. Yes, GPGC problem. I think you can trace it to the Doomsday era, where Ghana was facing a lot of power cuts situation in the country. So the then government decided to sign on many power purchasing agreements with several companies. You remember Ameri, all those ones, including this one. So, but there's a extent to which Ghana can take these powers. The electricity production, we have a limit that if you go beyond, you're only wasting the country's resources. So I think even the NDC, before they left power, they realized that they have signed on so many of these PPAs, these power purchase agreements with several companies that the government itself realized they needed to do something about it. So they set up a committee to review all the PPA agreements that they have signed. And one, let me say, very difficult condition that was stated in this agreement was the take or pay condition. You must either take or pay. So these companies abroad bring in their resources to establish the power production, and whether you need it or you don't need it, you have to pay. If you listen to the Minister of Finance this year, in just from 2017 till now, we have paid nearly $1 billion for excess capacity alone to these business or companies. So when the committee did their analysis, one of the contracts that they suggested should be abrogated was this GP contract, that the terms were not good for the country. We were going to lose more in terms of its value addition to already what we have and the costing. So the committee recommended to the then minister to abrogate this particular contract so that we'll be able to save some money. Even though we are talking about $170 million as a huge figure, the projection is that we could be losing up to 7 billion or even 6 billion in a longer term of the contract if we had not abrogated. So these are some of the conditions that caused the then minister to send a matter to cabinet for them to agree to terminate the contract. And once you terminate, I mean, you have seen the new facts that are coming. The then Deputy Attorney General's firm was the one, the firm's address was the same address that they used to register the company in Ghana. So you can clearly connect the dots. This is the same
Connect it
General.
for us, sir. Maybe connect it for us.
Yes, the same Attorney General who is drafting or reviewing the agreements is the same firm that is also behind the company. So a lot of the content of the agreement did not favor the country. Okay. And once you sign to the terms of the agreement that you have accepted it as a country, when it goes to arbitration, the arbitration will not say that because of conflict of interest, they are going to say otherwise. So the terms for the particular contract was not favorable to the country in terms of the obligations that were set out for Ghana and what we needed to do. So once you terminate, then it becomes then you are bound to pay the judgment debt because of the terms of the agreement. So this is where we are. We unfortunately, when it went to arbitration, Ghana lost it. So once we lost it, I mean, it's not subject to appeal, as all lawyers will tell you. An arbitral award is not subject to appeal unless in a very exceptional circumstances of maybe lack of jurisdiction or unfair procedures or an exceptional situation. It's very difficult to appeal. So this is where we are. But if you look at the trends, the analysis so far, even though 170 million looks like a big debt to the country, it is the better option of allowing that particular contract to subsist till today. We would have paid more than that. And so I agree with the Attorney General when he says that we need to investigate what circumstances led to the signing of that agreement, who were the parties involved and what was their motivation. Was this contract really signed in the best interest of the country? Especially now that we are seeing the people behind the contract as the same people who were also working for government at the time. If the Attorney General who is advising, the legal advisor to government, is also the same firm that is registering and pursuing the interests of the private company, at what point was the interest of the country protected, especially looking at the terms of the contract that made it very difficult for government to win at arbitration?
Are you alleging a collusion behind this judgment debt? Is that what you're alleging?
Well, I am not alleging. It's the facts. The facts says that the then Deputy Attorney General who was advising government on the content of the contract was the same government, the same firm that was also, in fact, the registered address of the firm is the law firm of the Deputy AG at the time. So, no, I am not the one alleging. It's the facts that is telling us that indeed Ghana is losing this amount of money because of insider dealings.
Okay, let's interrogate a few things that have come up. You talked about Ghana having a power limit, and so this contract that would have led to some the production of some excess power would have been a problem. Help us understand what would be wrong with that.
Well, the fact is that I think our total peak demand is about 2,000 megawatts as a country, but we produce about we have production capacity of about 3,500. So what it means is that if you need only 2,000 at your peak, and you are producing a capacity of, just say, 3,500, and what are you going to do with the rest of the production? But the technical people always advise that you must have maybe 10% or a certain room for excess, because every day electricity expansion is happening, so you must always have room for certain level of expansion. But that must match your infrastructure and your readiness to extend the electricity. So if maybe in 5 years' time you are going to need, let's say, 5,000 megawatts, but today all you need is 2,000 or 2,500 megawatts, and then you commit the country to produce 3,500 megawatts, the 1,500 megawatts that you don't need is termed as excess capacity. And the producers of the power will tell you that whether you buy it or you don't, once they produce, it's a take or pay in the contract agreement. So whether you agree to use it or you agree not to use it, you are going to have to pay us. And that is about the $1 billion we have paid since 2017 till today. And the current contract we are talking about was framed in that respect. So if you allow that contract to persist when we didn't need it, because already we are even producing beyond the capacity that we have, and yet they kept signing more of this PPA agreement and committing the country to be paying more. So that is the situation about the excess situation. You have a limit to what you can use at a time. Maybe in 3, 4, 5 years' time, we may have need for even the excess capacity and even expand beyond that. So you have to plan it according to your current needs and your current budget.
That the governors of the country would look at opportunities ahead to increase infrastructure so that we don't worry about excess capacity and can make some good use of that.
Exactly. So, but if you are thinking about, if you are being forward-looking with future demands, then you must as well also have done auditing of your infrastructure to know that you have capacity to use it now. Otherwise, instead of wasting it in PPA agreement, use that money to rather expand your infrastructure. And then also, it's not only about that, the pricing that they use. If you look at the ECOWAS region, the megawatt unit cost is it's an average of 10 cents. But these PPA agreements were signed around 15 cents, 19 cents, some of them as high as 20 cents. So even if you decide to sell from Ghana, maybe we have produced excess capacity, so we want to sell to Togo or Burkina Faso or Cote d'Ivoire. Their power is so cheap, you cannot even sell at the price that you are producing in Ghana, assuming you even had the infrastructure to transport it. I see. So these were some of the difficulties. The prices were high, the agreements were unreasonable, the terms were not beneficial to the country. And I'm saying that some of these terms were not beneficial because of the actors that were involved. The same people who were reviewing for government were the same people who were advisors and legal officers of the private company. What else did you expect?
Okay, so let's talk about what you say is what 7 billion cedis, I believe, is what we could have lost if we hadn't taken, if the government hadn't taken the steps to terminate. Explain how that would have been for us, how we would have lost the 7 billion.
You see, what happens is that every year, once you commit to a take or pay agreement, let's assume that the agreement is to last for, let's say, 10 years. And every year, you are supposed to pay an average of, let's say, $200 million to a company. I mean, when the finance minister brought the report to Parliament, you saw that some of the companies have received $300 million, some have received $500 million, some have received $300 million. So let's say that this company is producing at its capacity and you are paying $200 million every year for the next 10 years. How much is that? Even for a year, for the next 10 years, how much is that going to be? So if you are supposed to cancel the contract and pay 170 million, compared to what you are already committed to pay, please, once you sign the take-or-pay agreement, it doesn't matter whether you are ready to take the production or not. You are still going to pay the money anyway. So when you look at the spread of cost that the country would have paid, assuming even every year, Ghana is supposed to pay $100 million to this company for the next 10 years, how much is that? About $1 billion. So if we are saying, no, we are not going to be committed to that, we don't even need it in the first place. So let's terminate it. And the terms of the termination is that we are supposed to pay a judgment debt of $170 million, which is very unfortunate. But if you compare to the long-term cost of the country, we are even making a situation out of this bad situation.
Okay. We'll leave it here. Thank you very much. That's John Kumah. He's Deputy Finance Minister. We're grateful that he tried to make it to speak to us via phone, even though he couldn't make it to the studio. And we wish him all the best in his interactions with his constituents as he is there, because he's also an MP. Benjamin, quick comments from you before we move on to our next conversation. Our next conversation really is a conversation that is not new to the two of us. The conversation about the LGBTQ in Ghana. But final comments on the judgment debt situation. Yes.
Thank again to the Deputy Minister for Finance for having the time with us. I think he has clarified a certain point. But my mind is still agitated. So yes, obviously, if you compute the entirety of the cost for the period of the duration of the contract, it may be higher than the 170 million without even express computation. But the point to make is that the 170 million that we have now is that the lowest we could have obtained? Forget about the billions that we might have paid. What we have now, the 170, could we have paid less?
That's a fair.
Okay, and then even when you do the simple extrapolation that we could have paid, let's say the 17 billion that has been mentioned, remember that even if it's excess, we could have had that power, and we could have exported even at half price. I hope you get my point. So that it's not the entirety of that 17 billion that we'll lose, because that excess power we could have exported even at half. The point is that when we sell, we will not even get the rate that we have committed ourselves, but at least we could get half. So the point to make is that the 170 that we have lost, is that the minimum we could have lost or could have been asked to pay? I think that is still a legitimate question before we move to, getting into the full details of what has happened in the past and how we can learn our lessons going forward.
Great. Okay. We'll take a break on Inside Pages. We'll be right back after this.
Inside Pages is brought to you by Appointed Time Printing Limited.
Do not drop the awareness. The fight is still on. Constant disinfection is still very pivotal in the fight against COVID-19. Call an expert today on 020-300-4055 or 050-126-5426 to ensure your space is disinfected. The search for a reliable partner in dealing with your U-turn bus needs has been made easier and convenient with SA Automobile. SA Automobile, formerly U-turn Ghana Limited, has been in the business of offering quality U-turn products and services at competitive rates. At SA Automobile, our team of expert staff, management, engineers, and mechanics professionally deal in the sale of U-turn buses, genuine spare parts, its repairs and maintenance at a highly effective workshop with remarkable speed. We also have available the sale of Camel car batteries, Weichai and Kia spare parts, Zonton coaches and light-duty vehicles for everyday movement. Contact us on 020-000-0831 or 054-555-7500. You can also email us info@saautomobilegh.com or visit our website at www.saautomobilegh.com. SA Automobile, the pleasure of doing business with you is all ours.
Watts a first charge system with 2-for-1 certification. 90Hz superfluid display. 6.95-inch Full HD+. MediaTek Helio G95 processor. Unbeatable gaming experience. Infinix Note 10 Pro, faster and smoother.
HD logo the bottom. Where you say HD local channels na mo hedo. As a picture see clear. E 5 times better. As other channels that could be show hormone. So the way they mention man tram raka why. Oh, what the freakers. Who knows so kwaju AD plus decoder or multi TV and now restaurant agent biaho na show local channels na HD mu the here so better star 879 hash numbers from the box and now the advert AD channels now.
Get an HD Plus decoder from now till the 9th of August for just $89.99 Ghana cedis and enjoy 3 months free subscription. Enjoy all the excitement and live sports action in the HD Plus Air Bosso Fili promo. Promo lasts from 7th June to 9th August 2021. Visit hd-plus.com.gh or call 024-243-9872 for more info.
Half a nose for good things.
Yenim sa upe football pa. Anunti na high sense as sponsor Euro 2020. Edia Maono. Nesa sunti na ya TV so say who Edia Maono. A high sense Euro 2020 TV super promo. Can't kwajo brand new high sense TV and board that form. Pictures near clear na color near deep. Sound quality this so dear one it here. High sense TV so dear entry power. About down one access you are. Akona utusa barefoot. 18th June, I confirm 11th July. A high sense Euro 2020 TV super promo. Emma Refisa, high sense and Kwan, Emma 5 years warranty. A high sense Euro 2020 TV super promo. A Kosovo high sense showrooms. What Ghana for Nanina? What Judia Nansenya? High sense, everyday prices for everyday people. High sense, official sponsor at the Euro 2020.
We are one man short. Should we invite him?
Yeah.
It be old cargo. Can I join you guys? Yeah.
Always drink fresh, natural eggs, mineral water.
You still got it. Always keep hydrated naturally. That's my secret.
Manufactured with the primary aim of preserving nature's finest minerals necessary for a healthy mind and body. X Natural Mineral Water. Simply natural.
Yes, welcome back to Inside Pages. I'm Francisca KAKRA FORSON. In the studio with me is Benjamin Antiedu. We've just had a brief conversation with Deputy Finance Minister John Kuma and as well an economist, Mr. Amate Enim. Right now, I want us to turn our attention to the never-ending conversation about LGBTQ community or activities in Ghana. I'm going to start off with a letter I'm hoping will be displayed on the screen. I'll read it out and then I'll proceed from there. So this is a letter from Mr. Emmanuel Amankwa Kese, a political activist in the Eastern region, and he puts his numbers on the letter. It says the topic is, or the title, RE, an appeal to Parliament to amend our human rights law to fight LGBTs and their activities in Ghana. And let me read the details, the body of it. He says, so this is a response as the RE indicates, from the Right Honourable Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagwin, which says, your communication dated 28 May 2021 on the above subject matter refers. I appreciate very much your concern about activities of the LGBTQ plus groups in the country. It is indeed a phenomenon that should not be encouraged or accepted by our society due to its eventual negative impact on society. Urgent actions are being taken to pass a law to eventually nip the activities of these groups in the bud. Stakeholder consultations are also ongoing, and the results will feed into a bill that will eventually be passed into law by Parliament. Please accept the assurance at my highest consideration. Yours faithfully, the Speaker of Parliament. What really stood out for me in this letter is what I'll read again. Urgent actions are being taken to pass a law to eventually nip the activities of these groups in the bud. And we were scheduled to speak to the recipient of this letter, so the person who first wrote to Parliament about this intervention, Emmanuel Abankwa Kese, a political analyst, that's him in the Eastern region. And he's, however, he agreed to be here, but he's, however, sent a message that he's been advised not to speak publicly about this matter, and so has called off or has pulled the interview off. He's called it off, I beg your pardon. What we'll do is we have a representative, I think Director of Communications, Mr. Mo, on the line. This is, he's also a member of the LGBT community. He's Communications Director, Mr. Mo, as he will be referred to. Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Mo.
Good morning, and good morning to some viewers as well. How are you doing?
I'm well. How about you?
I am doing spectacular.
Very well. The question I want to ask you, I think, kindly hold the line. My attention has just been drawn to some matter with your connection. So kindly hold on. Let me get the thoughts of Benjamin in the studio, Lawyer Benjamin. We know what the law says as far as homosexuality is concerned. We've had the conversation about is it the Criminal Offences Code talking about unnatural carnal knowledge. We've had that conversation, and so what do you make of this letter that the legislature talks about a law, considering passing a law to nip the activities of the gay community here in the bud? What's your understanding of this?
Yeah, so that is clearly in sync with our earlier discussions that the law does not exhaustively deal with.
Please, yes, his microphone is on. So let's fix the sound from wherever. His microphone is on. Carry on, please.
Okay, so as we have discussed, the content of this letter is in sync with our earlier discussions on the matter, that our law as currently exists under Section 104 of Act 29 does not exhaustively deal with the matter.
Sorry, Act 29 is the Criminal Offences Code, for the benefit of our audience.
Okay,
Please
so, and we came to the conclusion that, yes, the law appears to deal with man-to-man sexual relationship,
yes,
and doesn't even deal with woman to woman, and then the external activities that are not even sexually related. Okay.
For instance, they are grouping, if they want to group as a gay community.
Exactly. Or getting married, for example. Legally is not, the marriage will not be recognized.
Okay.
But what happens to the activity? Because some of these things is the exposure to the public that, really the offense comes from. The exposure to the community. Mm-hmm. So you see, that's what the speaker mentioned, that the activities of LGBTQ 1+ or
LGBTQ plus.
Okay, so you see, is the activities that he is interested in.
So so correct me if I'm wrong, the understanding I'm getting is that because of the gaps in the current law, the Act 29 of the Criminal Offences Code is the same thing, the Section 104 of Act 29, which is the Criminal Offences Code, has these gaps. For
Yes.
instance, you talk about marriage, you talk about their association, lesbianism, so sexual relations between a woman and a woman. We also even talked about how to play out on the intersex people, cross-dressers, people with the two sexual organs, so that am I right to say then that Parliament is trying to cover all the bases, expand the law to address all of these activities, which would have been in certain grey areas?
Exactly, and that is why the Speaker addresses the issue as activities of these groups. Activities. So then every activity of these groups that may be deemed unacceptable, I mean, from the Parliament point of view. And it's refreshing that the Speaker is not saying that this is my personal resolution.
Okay.
He's saying that even beyond Parliament, there are ongoing consultative activities going on. So when we get the broader discussion, the consensus of Ghanaians, then we'll know exactly what to prohibit. But he anticipates that we'll come to that outcome. Okay.
And I'm also particularly interested in this bit about nipping it in the bud. I might be asking you to speculate, but help us understand how will that then mean, nipping it in the bud?
Maybe in a more, if you look at the context, then it's about dealing with it, effectually, finally.
Okay.
Final dealing with the subject, because I think that this matter has been with us for ages. Okay, but if you look at the context of the letter, that is talking about finally dealing with it, dealing with it in a very exhaustive manner that will not have to, go back and forth on this matter. Okay, so what is important is that some consultations are ongoing to have a broader view of what will even be deemed unacceptable in terms of relating to this kind of relationship. What can we deal with? What can we not deal with? So that we will finally deal with the matter.
And so this also gives a clear indication of Ghana's direction as far as matters of homosexuality is concerned. It might not be good news for the gay community. I'm sure, but by this time we have reworked our line with Mr. Mo. Mr. Mo, good morning once again. Has this letter come to your attention, and how do you react to it?
Yeah, good morning once again. I have seen the letter. I have read both letters from the political activists and also the response from the Speaker of Parliament. And I am honestly in awe. It's quite weird that the Parliament would find it absolutely necessary to actually spend so much time and resources to criminalize fellow Ghanaians, because being gay isn't sexual. Being gay is actually part of the human biology. It's innate. So is the Parliament trying to say that they are segregating some part of Ghanaians to make them illegal, and show the fact that they were born that way, because sexuality is not a choice? And I really, really would like to sit down and have a Speaker of Parliament. I know it's a long shot, but I have just one question that I want to ask the lawmakers and the lawyers. Like, is heterosexuality that fragile? Is it that fragile that you are being, you are this scared that it will affect heterosexuality? I don't understand why lawmakers and people who are well thought and read would actually sit down to do this. It's quite baffling. And this is something I would really like to ask the lawyer too. I think the lawyer kept saying that this LGBTQ matter. It is not a matter. These are human beings and human lives you're talking about. And you are trying to enforce a legislation that makes them illegal. That is something we should check. If you do not understand something, what you do is try and learn more and know more. But of course, in a country like Ghana, the law is used as an oppression against minority groups. So generally, it's understandable. The case of the whole 21 happened, and just all of a sudden, everybody was like, yeah, let the law take its course. Let the law do this, let the law do that. It's quite understandable that we'll make the law take its course. But then what if that law is being used as a tool to oppress minority groups? That is what I want to ask the lawyer in the studio right now. Or he doesn't, or, the lawyer doesn't he regard LGBTQ persons as human beings? I want to ask the lawyer and also the members of parliament and the Speaker of Parliament himself.
Mr. Mo, what I want you to do, fair point, but I think that you need to appreciate the in-studio lawyer Benjamin's point. He was not expressing a personal opinion. He was speaking to the law, the current law, and what this potential bill Parliament says they are considering would mean. So what he's really doing was interpreting facts put before him. He's not expressed his personal view about this. We're trying to understand what this letter, this assurance letter from Parliament is. But let me ask you a few more questions. You talk about being surprised, and I want to interrogate that because I want to say that you and I live in this country. We know that this country will be tagged by some people or some international communities as homophobic, as intolerant of gay relations. So why are you then surprised? Did you not see this coming?
I am not surprised because we've seen what has happened since February. It's not surprising at all.
Why are you surprised?
Sorry?
My question is to you saying that you are surprised. So my question is, why are you surprised? Didn't you see this coming?
So my surprise has to do with the fact that I believe that we are in 2021 and information is really not that difficult to find. So for me to see people in a position of being ignorantly dealing with an issue that I actually don't do it, that is my surprise actually, because it's not that difficult to read wide and know more about the LGBTQ community. That is where my surprise is coming from. And also my surprise is the fact that we have government officials and we have people in a position of power actually wasting resources. I would actually say waste, because they are wasting resources and time to sit on a non-issue while there are major issues and they are concerned. Because sexuality is a part of a human being. No matter how you legislate against it, it's not going to change for people's sexuality. It's not. So exactly why I'm glad that you asked the lawyer what the nip in the bud, what he felt about the nip in the bud, because we were also over here. We were also surprised that we saw that that statement, nip in the bud. How are you going? Is there going to be some introduction of conversion therapy? And if there is, conversion therapy has actually been seen to be very inhumane and barbaric. So what are we talking about when we say nip in the bud? This is also another thing I would want to ask the Speaker of Parliament. Personally, I would really want to have a dialogue with him.
Has the LGBT community in Ghana had any correspondence? Has there been any correspondence between your community and Parliament or any other state group?
Faith group, you say? Sorry, your line is not really clear.
Has your community had any correspondence with Parliament or any other relevant state group?
Unfortunately not. We haven't, because of course we are seen as misfits and we are unwanted, and we are seen as not good enough to be on a table to actually speak on matters that affect us, our lives. We haven't had anything. We've heterosexuals sitting down and speaking on our issues when we are actually, to give it more perspective. Of course, we have people who sit down and pretend as if they know what's good, what's acceptable. But until you understand and until you appreciate what is the quote-unquote phenomenon that is happening, you wouldn't be what it is that you believe in. So
I wanted to ask if you've made any attempts. Have you made any attempts to engage Parliament, for instance?
We are being calculated with our engagement with these stakeholders, actually, because it does look like Parliament is ready to listen to us. And yes, we are trying to make that attempt. We are unsure because initially we wanted to do that when the raid happened in February, But listening to the president, completely go off topic of what our demands were and going straight to marriage, which is horrendous, because I don't think the country is in a position to even sit on the fact that queer people are legally supposed to be married. But that is by the way. And also the fact that the Speaker of Parliament had the Australian High Commissioner in the meeting they had, and he specifically mentioned that they are not going to make any legislation that would oppress people's rights. But yeah,
so we do acknowledge the fact that we
trying to engage with Parliament in our own little way, but we've not done that yet.
Very well. So when you read this letter and you saw the bit about nipping what's in the bad activities of the gay community, what went through your mind? What are some of these activities that the gay community does that could be under threat per this document?
Well, when I saw the nip in the bad statement, it was quite funny, actually. It was very
very funny because me being a member of the LGBTQ community, only a member, I would say that, and also a Ghanaian, it was very, very funny because it's quite very much impossible to nip sexuality in the bud. I would take it that is what he meant. But I would also
what exactly they are going to do to nip it in the bud, because
the queer community has and is always going through so many things that they face.
So let me interrupt a bit. That is what lawyer Benjamin and Tiedu hypothesized about, talking about that could possibly mean covering certain angles such as marriage, such as groupings or associating these groups coming together. The dressing, the appearance that you put out there, some of these things. So he's hypothesizing that these are some of the things that Parliament would want to pass a law to sort of regulate.
Sorry, I lost you again.
Okay, so I was trying to come in with the information from lawyer Ntiedu as to the activities they want to nip in the bud. So this will probably make the law, this law will be more rigorous than the Section 104 right now. So for instance, issues of same-sex marriage, the dressing or the dress code of gay communities, their association, their groupings, etc. This is what he's saying that could be what Parliament will be looking at targeting.
So yes, that. But I, as you mentioned earlier, the lawyer in front of you, and I am saying I really would want to know exactly what the speaker meant, because he. But I appreciate the lawyer's statements about that, and it's quite serious for people not in the community to not realize how this is also going to affect them, because we do have people out there who are freely expressing themselves that are not part of the community. We have, when you take dressing, for instance, now a lot of people are dressing androgynously. It's not a queer community. So this law is actually going to target the whole of Ghana, not just the queer community. Is that what we're saying? Are we saying that we are going to allow the Parliament to legislate on how we are going to dress as Ghanaians, we are supposed to do, and what we are supposed to wear and not to wear? It's baffling, because we have people who are heterosexual and have piercings and they have colored hair and all of that. Are we going to ban all of those too? Because that is what is being associated to being gay. And of course, if these activities are what you are nipping in the bud, it still doesn't nip the sexuality in the bud, because it's still present. Like, we are present. It doesn't change the sexuality. So it's talking about the fact that if we really want to engage this, if we really want to have how to go about this, we really need to sit down as a country to dissect it. Every legislation that I know that is going to pass for the LGBTQ community is going to affect the whole country, not just the LGBTQ community. Because how do you identify a gathering as an LGBTQ gathering? How do you identify a gay person? You cannot.
unless I tell you I am, because it's part of me, it's innate. So for you to legislate against
born with something that is innate to me, so naturally you're saying that I was born in a country already illegal. I don't have any say in the fact that you made me illegal by the virtue of the fact that I'm Ghanaian. That's what I'm saying.
What I want to ask you right now, really, permit me to be tough on this one. So it appears that the LGBT case right now would be similar to what pro-abortionists or abortion activists will be calling for, that or a chunk of the people making laws about abortions, terminations, what have you, do not know what they're talking about. They have also severally made their campaign, communicated about a woman's right to choice, etc., etc. The gay community in Ghana for some time has also been talking about or trying to educate people on this subject of sexuality and how it's not a crime and how it's somebody expressing themselves, blah, 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 etc. It would appear then that with this communique that we're looking, this correspondence from Parliament to this individual that we're looking at, that all of this coming from you as a minority group has fallen on deaf ears. The country appears to be against homosexuality and wants to even tighten or make stronger its laws against homosexuality. Why don't you abandon this project and do whatever you have to do privately?
It's quite, whenever that point comes up, I really try to unpack the reasoning behind that, the private issue. But before that, I want to talk a little bit on the abortion issue that you raised. Particularly, sometimes when we are looking at an issue, we don't look at the bigger picture. We end up using our very own prejudices to judge. The fact that we have inequality, even when it comes to gender in this country, is baffling. And also look at the number of men in parliament set against women. So we have men legislating on the rights of women, like rights of women, women that are living the lives that men would never understand. And we have them in parliament legislating on what a woman can do and what a woman cannot do. That is very much.
We need to really check that. And most of the problems of the minority groups is because ourselves in the patriarchy. That is why we always see that oppression is linked, whether we like it or not. So the truth of the matter is, we have men who have, over the centuries, over the years, been given so much power by I don't know who, but it's so much power that we can actually sit together and say, you know, this is good for humanity, this is not.
Instead of sitting down and actually speaking to each other, irrespective of gender, to know what's happening with this particular gender and how we can move forward with it, right? That is number one. Number two, we are constantly forgetting that women are receiving every oppression that comes. When this legislation for gay people happens, and I don't know that there's going to be conversion therapy, that is one. Actually, the anti-LGBTQ campaign that happened during the raid was talking about how they have a holistic approach of people's sexuality and everything, mostly targeted at gay men. So if gay men are magically transformed to be straight men, the only thing they have to prove is to get married, which the women do not have power over in the country yet, because men are allowed to marry women, but not vice versa, you know. So there you go. You have women have no option than to marry these queer men, which at the end of the day, they suffer the consequences because queer men are always going to be queer men. Now, coming back to this is a whole picture that I'm painting for you. Coming down to the issue right now, we all need to sit down and unpack how this system that we've built as Ghanaians is oppressing everybody, irrespective of where you stand. Because at the end of the day, we all have different identities as human beings. At one point, you are in the minority, and at another point, you are in the majority. And it depends on where you are at the moment. So at any point at all in time, you can be affected with a law that is not right. You understand where I'm coming from?
So we really need to check exactly. If we are going to check on oppression and how it's affecting the country, we need to sit down and check that. We are in a country that we don't even regard disabled. We don't have a thing. I don't know. I stand to be corrected. We don't even have a single disabled member of parliament. And when you look at our government institutions, they are not built for disabled people. They don't have places to if they are in wheelchairs, they don't have the place to go with their wheelchair to work. Look at all of these things.
So
we are not.
Yes, Mr. Mo, can I just come in a bit? My last question to you before I bring in the lawyer to address some of the things that you talked about, of course, is about the principle of utilitarianism, talking about pleasing the majority or going after what is good for the majority. If the majority don't want it, I'm not sure any government would pursue something that the majority do not want.
So
being the minority.
The issue, yeah, I understand. The issue with that concept is the fact that nobody is a minority and nobody's a majority. You are a minority at a point in time and you're also a majority at a point in time. So are we going to say that at the point where you are a majority, you are supposed to make laws that benefit you and then go against the minority? And then also if you find yourself in the minority and somebody else in the minority, you are allowed to legislate against the minority. Is that what we are saying? That is what I'm driving at. We shouldn't think that we are absolute. An example of that is what I talked about, the dressing. A heterosexual man is in the majority when it comes to sexuality. But if this law is sex dressing of queer people and he finds himself in earrings and colored hair and braids, that's a minority, but in actuality he's not. So we really need to check that. That are some of the things that we need to check.
I was drawing your attention to the greater good principle, but kindly hold on. Let's take a few comments from Benjamin Antiedu on this. Ben.
Thank you so much. And the point really is not about targeting the LGBTQ plus community. That is why the speaker was so clear. That is about the activities of people that, happen to be in that community. Okay, so just like the case, let me say the case of prostitution, for example. The fact that somebody is a prostitute cannot be an offense.
Okay.
You can't take somebody to court and say you are a prostitute, so I'm prosecuting you. It is the activity that you do, what you do. So I will want our
Mr.
brother
Mo
to respond to the kind of activities. What do they do in the community? So that if this law will not, the activities that will be captured in this law will not concern them, then there shouldn't be a problem. But the second point is that homosexuality is not a human right in Ghana. A human right is defined by law. And the laws of Ghana, the laws do not recognize that as a right. If it's a new right, you are canvassing until it matures to that. You don't have it. And then as the speaker has indicated, definitely the LGBTQ community will be a critical component of the consultative processes. Okay, so definitely that is an opportunity for them to come in. Even before that, they can write and seek the audience of the Right Honorable Speaker, and he is a listening leader.
Okay.
He will hear them and all. So it's not really about, because the dressing and the other aspect, I'm just
we are hypothesizing on that. We are only theorizing.
But I'm just talking about what we seek to prevent. What we seek to prevent is about the corruption of vulnerable minds. Okay, exhibiting what we frown upon as society. Okay, so to me, these are all important parts of it. Lawmaking or legislation is not only about economics, it's also about the socio-cultural elements of our life, the totality of what will make us live fully as human beings.
Okay. Before I come back to you, Mr. Mo, I just want to indicate it's 2 minutes, it's a minute to 10 a.m. Typically, we would have closed the show by this time, but we are extending the show beyond 10 o'clock, just shortly, a few minutes after 10 o'clock, to have the conversation about the much anticipated game between Accra Hearts of Oak and Asante Kotoko. Hey, did I say Accra? Kumasi Asante Kotoko. Okay, I got it right. And Accra Hearts of Oak. Are you which? Phobia is which one? Accra Hearts of Oak. Yes. Oh, okay. I support Kotoko. Mr. Mo, which team do you support, if I may ask?
I grew up with the colors. Actually, a supporter of Hearts of Oak.
It's like I'm alone in the studio.
You are.
Okay, do you want to briefly respond to some of the things that Ben said?
Yes, I would shortly do that. First of all,
and then you add your conclusion as well.
Sorry?
I'm saying that so you can do the response and then add your conclusion. Okay, very well. Please turn your mic on.
He made a point that we've not adverted our minds to the community and what they stand for. But throughout, he has not even pointed to what actually they do. Okay, so I thought that this would be an opportunity for him to highlight what they do that we have misconstrued.
Mr. Mo, do you want to speak to that? What exactly are the activities? And if you can turn off your TV volume or radio, TV volume, yes, we're getting a bit of feedback. But let's help us understand what the activities of the LGBT community are. This is what the letter from Parliament is looking at nipping in the bud. So help us understand these activities.
Honestly, I am also trying to understand the exact activities you are talking about, because for all I know, there are no activities that we are doing that heterosexuals are not doing. I'm ready for people to point out to me, because we shop just like Ghanaians, we party just like Ghanaians. I don't know what activities they are actually talking about, because I need to understand. Because the only difference I can say is the fact that we have a whole different sexuality from heterosexuality. That is the difference that I see. But outside of that, I do not know.
Mr. Mo, how does this unique sexuality of the community manifest in their activities?
Sorry?
My question is, how does the sexuality you talk about of the gay people, how does it manifest into their activities?
So the thing is, I think there's this wild theory. I don't know what it is, but there is no exclusive activities that queer people do that heterosexual people don't, except sexually. We need to establish that fact. So I am trying hard to understand where these activities are coming from. Is it that, are they going to strip away our rights to assemble, just like the way the whole 21 are being held for unlawful assembly? Or I don't know. I'm trying to understand what activities exactly you're talking about, because we do exactly what heterosexuals do.
Okay.
There's nothing different from the activities that we do that needs to be legislated against. So the idea that we have some sort of activities that we do be legislated against is wild to me. I would want to know that. But secondly, too, I would want to ask the lawyer what he meant by vulnerable minds, because to me, sexuality is not taught. I think you really need
let me come in, Mr. Mo, let me come in. Please don't be defensive. You know that for Metro TV, we always bring all the sides and we give everybody an opportunity to express their view. But I don't want you to feel defensive and feel unnecessarily attacked. He was referring to the Speaker of Parliament, and indeed, the Speaker of Parliament's title is one of his titles as well, Right Honourable Speaker of Parliament. And these are people who represent us, so they are deemed as honourable people working for our interest. So I see where you thought he was going, but that's not it. I can assure you that's not what he was intending to communicate. So that might have been erroneously consumed on your part. Nobody on this platform would do that, would undermine anybody's sexuality or their rights. We won't do that. What we will do is have fair conversations. Sometimes these fair conversations will be tough, but we have to have them. And the mere fact that we've brought you here, or we've connected with you to let you speak, shows goodwill on our part to give everybody equal voice. Okay? The two of you are going to lose. I'm telling you that Asante Kotoko is going to win Sunday's game. Do you hear me? Well, it will be 1-0. That's the most painful. But let me just bring you some. But thank you. That's Mr. Mo. He's the communications director for the LGBT community. We've been having a conversation with him about this new information that there's a possible new bill, or the Parliament is considering a bill that will nip the activities of the LGBT community in Ghana. in the bud. Lawyer Benjamin Antiedu has explained that to us. That could perhaps be something more rigorous, given that those rights are not recognized in Ghana. I want us to turn our attention to the biggest game that's happening. That's tomorrow between Accra Hearts of Oak and Asante Kotoko. I don't know why, but I support Asante Kotoko. And but I live in Accra, though. So let me just share this with you. It's happening at the Accra Sports Stadium tomorrow, Sunday, 27 June. What we know is Accra Hearts of Oak on Thursday extended their unbeaten run to 10 games after beating Legon Cities 2-1. Away from home on what match? This happened in Accra. Asante Kotoko, on the other hand, are trailing the Phobians on goal difference on the Ghana Premier League table, as they are both tied on 63 points after match day 13 in the ongoing season. Hearts of Oak are currently on top of the Ghana Premier League table, but we are not afraid. And their rivals, Asante Kotoko, occupy the second position. This is ahead of Sunday's game. So we are not so far apart. I'm confident that Asante Kotoko is going to emerge winner for this match. What are your predictions? For me, it's 1-0 against Hearts.
Wow. I want Hearts to win. This win will be a very decisive one. So let's see. Maybe the days of the 4-0 may come. But we should not even be too keen about this match. We have not gone far. Anything can happen. That is why, sometimes it gets so tense and all that. There have been so many matches, and they have handed this one. If you win, and then you go ahead and lose certain crucial matches, you will not win the league. Trouble, yes. But the point here is, are we going to witness even a more, case of the non-observance of COVID protocols?
So yes, we'll be talking about
because that. Because what we saw the last time is anything to go by, then tomorrow should be projected to be a worst case.
There's a history to this, and there are matters of security, COVID-19 protocols, and if you followed Metro News earlier this week, there were difficulties in getting tickets. Let me bring you that story from our sports desk, and when we come back, we'll have a conversation with Theophilus Sampa. He's a sports presenter with GBC News.
Sports Stadium will host the much talked about fixture match between the nation's two most glamorous teams, Accra Hearts of Oak and their arch rivals Asante Kotoko. Being the biggest fixture on the calendar of Ghana football, much will be expected from the two teams whose rivalry will be rekindled on and off the pitch, especially in the nation's capital, Accra. Accra Hearts of Oak on Thursday, June 24, 2021, extended their unbeaten run to 10 games after beating Legon Cities 2-1 away from home on match day 30 in the capital city of Ghana. The Kumasi-based club Asante Kotoko, on the other hand, are trailing the Phobians on goal difference on the Ghana Premier League table, as they are both tied on 56 points after match day 30 in the ongoing season. Hearts of Oak currently leads the Ghana Premier League table, as their rivals Asante Kotoko occupies the second position ahead of the Ghana Premier Super Clash on Sunday at the Accra Sports Stadium. Already, the bragging rights have started on the streets, in offices and homes, even before the players trooped to the field on Sunday for the tie. We spoke to a section of football fans at Adabraka and Kwame Nkrumah Circle on their expectations. They spoke in the local dialects Chi and Ga.
Phobia fan here, I'm here to support Accra, and we beat for the hands down. Obi Junior will score 1 goal, then the Mafutu will score 1 goal.
But the best 1 day. As it's over from this year, there's only the electric this year is 7. Sunday, when we have a ball, it's a tough game, and Hearts and Kotoko you can't predict, because a game maybe you can say based on form. But your co-part this one, no matter back different. You get it, Messi. We are sure it's Sunday. That we win for
Meanwhile, football fans, especially those in Accra, are still in search of tickets to buy for the epic clash between Hearts and Kotoko at the Accra Sports Stadium. Our cameras captured the situation at the Hearts Secretariat at Asylum Down, where fans were left frustrated after failing to get the match tickets.
Okay, welcome back. And so before we speak to journalists from GBC Sports, let me just share this with you. It's important that we know that the stadium, the Accra Sports Stadium, takes about 45,000 fans or spectators. What we understand is that the organizers are limiting this to only 10,000 as part of measures for COVID-19. Few facts, Benjamin, you support Accra Hearts of Oak. You haven't won the league title in the last 10 years, but you are here doing 2-0. Anyway, also, well, Accra, we're told that when they play in Accra, Kotoko is the one who is usually winning. So the odds are going in our favor.
Wow, so Accra, Hearts of Oak has not won in Accra before against Kotoko?
I won't say that. But guys, you can send us your messages. Please don't call the WhatsApp number. My producer is telling me that we are rather calling the WhatsApp number. Let's send the WhatsApp, the messages to the WhatsApp number and also on Twitter and Facebook. What we'll do is that we're going to display a Zoom link. You can call in or connect on us with us through this Zoom link. We'll have a look at you and you tell us what you're expecting. You tell us which team you belong to. You give us a prediction for the scoreline. I'm predicting 1-0 against Accra Hearts of Oak. I know some people will chew me, but I've said it. 1-0 against Accra Hearts of Oak. So I'm sure the Zoom link will be displaying. But in the meantime, send us your message. Tell us what you think. Let's get on the phone. Is it phone lines? And speak to the journalist, the sports journalist with GBC News, Theophilus Sampa. He's a sports presenter with GBC News. Theophilus, good morning to you and thanks for joining us. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good. I guess you're also doing well.
I am. Thanks for asking. And tell us about this game. We know that there's a history to Accra Hearts of Oak and Asante Kotoko games. Sports in itself, sports in the country has experienced a bit of security challenges, not just for this game. We also know that we are in COVID still, so there are measures against any spread. And we also understand that there were difficulties in getting tickets earlier in the week. So tell us about what's going on with this game.
I think that you said most of them. It's one of the biggest games in the history of Ghana football. Until the game between Accra Hearts of Oak and Accra Great Olympics, the Manchester Derby, we hadn't seen such enthusiasm in the Ghana Premier League before. Always we associate it with the Kumasi Asante Kotoko Hearts of Oak, Hearts Kumasi Asante Kotoko. That's why it has been dubbed the Super Clash. But in recent times, things have changed and we are seeing good football being played. I can confidently say that for the past 5-6 seasons, this particular season has been the most competitive league season we've had. And we are hoping that we don't get it truncated before the league ends. Because for some seasons, our league always will get truncated for on and off the field issues. But particularly this particular season, it has been great. Interesting things that have happened. If we have to catalog them, we won't get enough time to do it. Looking at the fact that even the election to bring a FA president and everything, we saw all the things that happened going to cars here and there, the back and forth because of the announced expose and everything. So this came in as a new page, a new chapter in Ghana football, and with the mantra from the administration that we want to bring back the love. Everything must be done to make sure that they bring back the love really lives up to expectation. It was through this season that we had 18 teams playing in the Ghana Premier League. We usually get 16 teams playing. But with the inclusion of Accra Great Olympics and King Faisal, because of the legal tussles, we are having 18-team league being played for the first time in many years in this country. And if you look at the two teams, their inclusion in the Premier League and the spice they added up to it, you can't talk about this particular season without talking about the influence of Great Olympics in the league as well as King Faisal. So it's been great. But let's focus on these two teams. This season, they have been fantastic. They have so many things in common. Remember, all of them started with different coaches. They sacked different coaches and then landed on these two individuals that are really helping to change things. You've seen off the field incidents, boardroom wrangling here and there. You can talk of Hearts of Oak and their supporters rising up and telling the board that we want a local coach, we don't want a foreign-based coach. We saw Kotoko also doing similar things, trying to change their coaches here and there. You saw the way and manner they took Masokonedu out, brought in the assistant, now they brought in Barreto and doing it. And interestingly, looking at the fact that Kumasi Asante Kotoko, who uses the Baba Yara Sports Stadium as their home ground, with the closure for renovation works, Kotoko has played most of their home games away from home. And they've done excellently well. If you look at the team, one of the teams that haven't lost enough games is Kumasi Asante Kotoko. If you look at it very, very well. And if you look at Accra, for the first time in many seasons, they're playing 11 matches without losing. So the build-up to this particular encounter has been great. And every day has in Kotoko plays, whether there is trophy, there is no trophy, league match, it is big. And history always tells us that it doesn't follow form or guide. A team that will be lucky on the day will carry it. But this particular season, I'm seeing more of technical handlers really doing a match for them. Most of them, the two teams that we are having technical leaders who really understand, coaches that really understand, and so you see their handwriting and the way they play. If you look at Accra to folk in recent times, they've been really, really amazing under Coach Samobwedi. If you look at Coach Moreno Barreto, this is a gentleman that really was a former Black Stars coach, understood the system, came in, and is also doing something wonderful. If you look at individual play, skill and everything you can find from both Hart and Kotoko. Look at Kotoko's Brazilian import, Fabio Gama.
Okay, let's just touch on a bit of the COVID-19 protocols. Oh dear, I think we've lost our journalist from GBC on the line. Apologies for that. We'll try and bring him back in the studio. And in the meantime, I'm trying to get some messages. So that's Theophilus Sampa, a sports presenter at GBC News, but we'll try and reconnect with him. Let me just bring you some messages. Mukaila Jonas Adinina inside Kerry in Kwanta South says it's quite unwise to shift blame when you've been entrusted with all resources to correct the wrongs. But with this car power deal that has resulted in this huge judgment debt, NDC must be blamed. Right from Mahama, Kwabena Donko, John Jinapo, for signing a contract that has the tendency of collapsing Ghana. As for, okay, that's Mukaila Jonas's message. This is from Bano. He says, this government is super incompetent. Fix the country Ghana now. Moro Ali says, Madam, you are pretty and fresh. Moro, is that all you have to say? We've had so many conversations, but thank you for the compliment. This is from Papi. Papi says, good move. This is to the right direction. The country has its laws, and the laws must work. It's man and woman. Anything else is rubbish. So he's speaking to the gay conversation that we were having. And this person says, hi, I'm John Wellborn from Kaswa. Kotoko will score Hearts of Oak on 1-0. Thank you, and I agree with you. Okay, Lab from Tamale says, Kotoko 3, Hearts 0. I agree with you. Hello, good morning. Please, my name is Oheneba Nana Ekwiyama Jr. I am a Kotoko fan. Tomorrow's game, Kotoko will win 2-0 against Hearts. I also want to know where to buy tickets. Okay, we'll find out with our journalist and let you know. But yes, you see the Kotoko people are supporting me. They are sending the messages. Keep them coming. Hey, Papi says Hearts 2, Kotoko 1, phobia. Papi, be careful. Be very careful. A quick message from someone. He says that activities of LGBTQI+, men have sex with men anally. This results in weakness of the private parts, the behind, leading to the use of pampers. Okay, we've heard you. Eric Sarkodie sends this one. He says, I like your support for Kotoko. We are winning tomorrow. You're very nice looking. About the LGBT, one can have his opinion but cannot promote it when it's an illegitimate practice. Thank you, Sarkodie. And yes, Kotoko is winning tomorrow. For me, it's 1 goal against Hearts. For you, what did you predict?
I predicted a massive win against Kotoko, but let me take the opportunity to say hi to one of the biggest Kotoko fans in Kumasi. He is Emmanuel Kingston. He is a very ardent supporter of Kotoko. But to assure him that they will lose and then lose the league. You know, winning the league should be the ultimate, not just this match. But my little fear is about the struggle for the ticket. You know, the reduction from 45,000 to 10,000, right?
This is the occupancy of the stadium.
45,000 the capacity, but they are giving 10,000. Yes. So this will definitely bring some struggle or scramble for the ticket, and that is where we will ask for a fair access to purchase.
That's very important. Right now, we are joined by Yusuf Chipsa. He's a former Kotoko player. He's got a tall list of other designations I couldn't put down quickly, which I'll ask him to tell us. But good morning to you, Yusuf, and thanks for joining us. Hope you're well.
Good morning. I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
Great. I'm excited about tomorrow's game. But first, let's understand a bit about your profile. You're a former Kotoko player. You're also a member, or you're with the PFA as well?
Yes, I'm the head of player relations.
Okay. What else did I miss?
Sorry?
What else did I miss? You are
also... you missed a lot, but they don't really matter as of now.
Oh, no, tell me. I want to know.
We'll talk about that later.
Okay. First of all, how are you? I'm excited. How are you feeling about tomorrow's game?
Yes, I think the whole of Ghana is excited as much as football fans or football lovers are concerned. It is our Classico here in Ghana, the biggest league game ever to happen. And the most exciting part of it is both Hearts and Kotoko are occupying the top seats, the same points, goals difference. And this has made it extremely highly competitive game. And we're actually looking forward to see a very nice game tomorrow, inshallah.
And it's good news coming from the organizers that the capacity of the stadium is going to be reduced. So we're going to expect, 10,000 spectators there in line with the COVID protocols. That's good news. How does that come to you?
Yes, as at now, it's a good news, but we really have to work hard to make sure that we actually follow those rules, because it was the same against the match against Olympics, House of Folk Olympics. It was supposed to be 25%. The stadium was almost full. So we have to be very disciplined. Every stakeholder will have to be very, very disciplined tomorrow, from the fans to the administrators to the organizers to the NSA and everybody, so that we make sure that we won't experience any negative news before or after the game. It's very, very important for us to behave as fans, to go there and support our players, our clubs, not to go and fight or cause any form of hooliganism or misbehavior over there. It's very, very important.
No, this game is highly anticipated. Within the week, we reported that there were already queues for people trying to get tickets ahead of time, and some of the people messaging us are even talking about where to get their tickets. How has the ticketing been managed, given that there are reports of people extorting or increasing the prices of the tickets? How has it been managed?
Yes, from the sources that we've gathered so far, I think they are sold out. The tickets are sold out. It was about 10,000 tickets out of the 45,000 capacity, if I'm right. Kotoko and House of Folk fans have already bought the tickets. So it's going to be extremely difficult for any fan who hasn't got his ticket yet. And that doesn't mean you should come to the stadium and try to find any means possible to get into the stadium. If you are unfortunate to get a ticket, I think that the game will be aired on TV, either Max TV or one of the StarTimes channels is going to be on TV. So please, we are pleading to all football lovers. I mean, Ghana needs them alive. We need everybody alive to witness the whole year. Inshallah, don't go and do anything. Don't get yourself involved in any act that will give you problems before the game or after the game. If you have a ticket now, that is fine. Lucky you. If you don't have, please just sit at home, enjoy the game on TV, and cheer up your fun. And those who have also bought a ticket and trying to sell them, at higher prices. Well, sometimes we see kind of these things, but we don't encourage it. Please, they should avoid it, because these are the people who usually cause mayhem and cause all sorts of troubles at the stadium. So we will not encourage such acts. But then I think the organizers or the House of Folk is the club playing at home. They should have made sure that they don't sell more than 2 tickets to any individual. And then if anybody wants to go and act, he'll find any means to get it done. So we'll try as much as possible. If everybody should stay disciplined, just be disciplined, and we will not have any bad news at the end of the game or before the game.
Caution there, and that's appreciated. Let's talk about a bit of security matters. We know that there's been a few challenges at the stadiums in ensuring security in other games since we opened up a bit. What are your thoughts there?
Yes, security has been a huge challenge in games like this. I mean, in the time past and even now. A typical example was the game against Accra Great Olympics. We saw what happened when fans broke into the stadium through the other gates. So I think security will have to be enforced really now. For me personally, I feel if we should combine both the military and the police, it's going to do a lot of good, because in the game against Accra Great Olympics, later on when the military were called upon, I mean, we were able to control the crowd in front of the main entrance. I mean, it was so insecure, overcrowded to the extent that a board member of Accra Great Olympics and an ESCO member in the name of Mr. Randiabe couldn't even get access into the stadium. They waited for hours until they went back home. We don't want such situations to happen tomorrow again. So therefore, I expect the security agencies and the organizers, NSA, and everybody to mount up a strategy that will make sure that all protocols or high dignity members will have a place whereby they can easily get access into the stadium without any problems, as it happened in the game against Accra Great Olympics.
You see, what is it about Hearts and Kotoko that seems to get almost every Ghanaian excited? Whether it's a major game or it's just a friendly or a minor game, why do we get so excited about Hearts and Kotoko playing?
It is the rivalry between them. I mean, undoubtedly, they are the two biggest clubs in Ghana with the numbers. They have about, if I'm not wrong, they have about 80% of football fans in Ghana. Both clubs, they control the crowd. When it comes to awards and championship too, I think they've won a lot. House of Folk is the oldest club, but then Asante Kotoko have also proved that they have the largest followers in Africa, and this is the reason why in the games involving these two clubs, you see that it's a whole. It's just like you have Barcelona against Madrid in Spain, and then Manchester United against Manchester City or Arsenal or any of the big fishes in any football country. So these are part of a Clasico, and it is the most interesting game in the country when it comes to football.
Very well. Before I let you go, what are your predictions for ahead of tomorrow's game? I'm predicting 1-0 against Hearts.
Well, before I go to the predictions, I would like to wish both clubs on behalf of the PFAG. I would like to wish both Accra, Suffolk, and Kumasi Santikotoko all the best tomorrow. And on my personal self, I would like to wish my club, Kumasi Santikotoko, all the best. And I'm predicting 2-0 against Accra, Suffolk tomorrow, inshallah.
Just quickly, we know that the Women's Premier League is also happening. Any thoughts on that?
Yes, I think the final is this afternoon between Ampiam Dakwa and Nazakes Ladies, if I'm right. Again, we wish all of them the best of luck in this afternoon's game. Some of us will be there to witness it. And they are representing their biggest club, but at the same time, they are representing women football in Ghana. So we expect to see a high level of skills and a very good game this afternoon. We wish them all the best from the office of the PFAG. We wish them all the best and hope to see them this afternoon.
All the teams playing all the best, the Women's Premier League as well as Accra House of Oak and Asante Kotoko, more to Asante Kotoko. But thank you, Yusuf Chipsa. He's a former player of Asante Kotoko. We're grateful to him. Grateful to all our guests as well. Benjamin Antiedu has been with us in the studio. Thank you. We also had John Kuma, the Deputy Finance Minister, joining us. Daniel Amate Nim, economist and financial analyst, also joined us. Mr. Mo of the LGBT community in Ghana. He's Director of Communications. We're grateful to you. We also are grateful to Samuel from GTV. Theophilus, pardon me, Theophilus from GTV, sports presenter, for joining us and giving us some information there. But thank you also for watching and sending your comments on social media as well. We're grateful to you. Join us again another Saturday. It's a nice way to end with sports because then we know that we're all excited and we're all going to do something fun. All the best to Asante Kotoko. Hearts of Folk fans, I'm sorry, you will lose. Okay, it's 1-0 from me. Thanks for watching Inside Pages. I'm Francisca KAKRA FORSON.
Inside Pages is brought to you by Appointed Time Printing Limited. Metro TV, insightful,